We were set for a bench trial, a permanency review after a final order on one child. We also have a motion to dismiss before the court. So I'm going to ask for announcements to start with, so we'll know who's here. And I'm going to start with Mr. Graff. If you would announce your name and then state which matters you wish to go forward with today.
Morning, Your Honor, Counsel Eugene Graff on behalf of Department of Family and Protective Services, along with Ms. Shay Cairns, who is the permanency specialist for this case. We are on, as the court indicated, for a number of matters this morning, including a final bench trial in the matter of Sierra Morales. We're also on for a permanency review after final for Kaylee and Aaron. And at this point in time, we would like to not proceed with the final on Sierra. We would be asking for a dismissal of the conservatorship as to Kaylee and Aaron, who both were adopted on December 22nd of last year. So we would be moving to dismiss their permanency or permanent managing conservatorship. And then as to Sierra, we would like to treat today's hearing as a permanency hearing. She'll be 18 in 3 months. The matter was set, prompted by Judge Baker at the last permanency hearing based on reports of no contact or communication between Sierra and her father. Her father had a possessory rights that were ordered after her final. Since that time, the department has learned that Sierra and her dad have been having contact, and she's, I understand, making plans to relocate to be living near her father when she turns 18. So at this point in time, we think it's kind of a waste of the court's time and resources to proceed with a termination proceeding when essentially they're having contact per the pre-existing court order. So
Okay.
That's, I think, covers everything this morning.
All right, we'll find out. Thank you, Mr. Graff. That was very thorough. All right, who else do we have here? I see Ms. Mullinax.
Yes, Your Honor, Erin Mullinax, attorney ad litem for Sierra at this point. She is present, as you heard, under Griselda Acevedo. And I would agree that the other two were adopted, so they just need to be non-suited out of the case completely.
All right, thank you. Do we have other attorneys on this case? And let's see.
Your Honor, Lorraine Lucero. I represent Manuel Morales, who is Sierra's father. He will not be present today. I'd advise him as to how we're likely to proceed. So I'm ready.
Okay, thank you. And then I think we have a CASA representative here as well. Would you state your name, please, if you're here for CASA?
I think she's having trouble getting her mute off. The CASA is Heather Overmiller, and I'm Heather's supervisor, Jamie Hall.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, and so I will note for the record that I believe Ms. Lucero notified Ms. Katie recently, or maybe this morning, that her client was not going to appear. The court did arrange for a Spanish interpreter for him, but we have dismissed that interpreter since he is not present. But just wanted to have for the record that the arrangements were made for him to have an interpreter. So it seems like there's no objection to the dismissal of the case as to Kaylee and Aaron. Is that correct? No objections?
No objection.
Okay. All right. With no objections, the court will take judicial notice of the fact that those two children were adopted on December 22nd, 2025, and the court will dismiss the department as the permanent managing conservator of those two children. As to the child Sierra Morales, we will proceed today as to a permanency hearing. Let me ask Ms. Cairns, I believe you will be testifying, and the CASA worker, if you will be testifying, to please raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you give in this case will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Thank you. So you may proceed with your case, Mr. Graff.
Thank you, Your Honor. If I could ask Ms. Cairns to unmute herself. She's unmuted. So Ms. Cairns, are you the current caseworker in the Sierra Morales case?
Yes, sir.
And how long have you been assigned?
Since the opening, so a couple years.
Okay. And there was a final hearing previously held regarding Sierra and her father. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
And her father is who?
Manuel Morales.
Okay. And at the time of the final hearing, was Mr. Morales, were his rights terminated?
They were not.
Okay. And he was given some sort of possessory rights. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. And do you recall when we were last in court, what your testimony was about the contact that Mr. Morales was having or not having with his daughter at that time?
Yes.
And
They,
go
sorry.
ahead. No, go ahead.
They spoke briefly, and they're talking more now.
Okay. So at that time, the contact, would you say, was it minimal?
Yes,
Okay. But that is not the case today. Is that right?
that's correct.
Okay. And the department had filed a motion to modify the original final order in the case. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And that was to move forward to terminate Mr. Morales's rights. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. As it stands today, do you feel that it's appropriate to proceed in that direction, or is it more appropriate to, and in Sierra's best interest, to continue under the previous final order?
That they have the contact, yes.
Okay. And when does Sierra turn 18?
In June.
Okay. And do you know what her plans are?
I believe she's just wanting to go get her car now from her dad, and then she's wanting to go into extended care.
Okay. So that's changed since we last spoke.
Yes, I think she was a little bit back and forth with it on when she wanted to come back.
Okay.
I thought it was the whole summer, but it's not.
Okay. And she's currently placed where?
At a foster home in Loveland.
Okay. And how's she doing in that placement?
Well, as of recently, we've had some issues.
Mhm.
She was doing well at the beginning, but it's become a little rough lately.
Okay. What kind of behaviors are we dealing with?
She stole some money from Griselda, $400 around that. She's been caught with THC vapes. And last night she tried to run. I spoke with her briefly this morning, asked her what was going on, and she just doesn't want to be there now.
Okay. Has there been any legal cases related to the stealing of the foster parents' money?
No, she's working that money off with the people that she stole it from.
Okay. As it stands right now, is it in her best interest to remain in that placement?
I've actually got a placement request going out to see if we could get her moved. I think it would be better for everybody right now. And Sierra wants to be moved.
Okay. Are there any other plans or services that she needs in order to either shore that up in the short run or to get her stabilized in the new placement once that happens?
We don't have any currently, but I'm going to staff with my supervisor, see if we need anything.
Okay. Okay. Have you had a chance? You said that she indicated she would like to be moved. Has she expressed any preference about reunifying with her dad?
No, she wants to stay in the Lubbock area.
Okay.
Macy's there, her sister. And that's what she knows. So she's wanting to stay there. And hopefully a placement, the SIL programs will accept her there.
Okay. At this point in time, is it in her best interest then to remain in the state care and custody under the existing conservatorship?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Thank you. Pass the witness.
Ms. Lucero, did you have any questions?
Just a couple, Your Honor. Thank you. Ms. Cairns, when you said SIL programs, I'm sorry, I don't think I've heard that before. What is that?
It's the independent living.
Okay, so she could go from the placement that she's at now to independent living? at this point, or will it be when she's 18?
When she's
How would that work?
18.
Okay, okay. So she would temporarily maybe go somewhere for now, and then when she turns 18, then, okay. And that's what I wanted to be clear on. Okay. All right, that's all I have, Your Honor. I'll pass the witness.
All right, thank you. Ms. Mullinex?
Thank you, Your Honor. Shay, you said that she had been doing well in the placement until recently. That's been about the last month, is that right?
Yes.
He's had like 5 incidents in the last month. Would you agree?
Yeah.
And you said you put in for a placement change. Do you know how long, or do you have another placement in mind at this point?
We don't right now, but I'm worried about her behaviors are going to cause her to go down to an RTC again. Because it's hard to find, the placements with those behaviors with the THC and then the stealing money.
And so she's on here and can hear you. So are you saying that she needs to be good in placement until she gets a new one?
Yes,
So
I
doesn't have
talked
to
to her.
go?
Oh, yes, I talked to her this morning about that as well.
Okay, and did she seem like she understood that?
She wasn't too happy to hear me talk to her about it, but I mean, I guess so.
And
We'll see.
she's having a psychological today to get an update on that. Is that right?
Yes.
And is there anything else that's needed for her to be successful that we think?
Not at this time. She's done the substance abuse in the past, so maybe do another one of those. But we can look at that.
And I think she's got a class she's got to finish work for in school. Was it maybe math or something to get caught up?
Yes. I apologize.
Anything else? Is she doing well in the other classes?
Whenever I speak with her, she says she's doing, she needs some help, but I didn't realize it was as bad as it is with the grades. I do know math is an issue. I think they were looking at tutoring for after school.
And so we want to make sure that she gets the tutoring or whatever she needs to make sure she's successful, even if she decides to end up leaving care. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
I'll pass the witness.
Any other questions for this witness?
Your Honor.
No, Your Honor.
Any other witnesses to call?
Not from the state, Your Honor. The state rests and closes.
All right. Anybody else have a witness to call?
Judge, I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Ms. Mullinex.
I was going to say I'd call Heather Overmiller, the CASA.
Okay. I was going to ask for a CASA report anyway, so I'm glad you are calling her.
Okay. Heather, you have contact regularly with Sierra and her placement. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
What concerns does CASA have at this time with Sierra?
I have some pretty big concerns. A lot has changed in the last month, as you know. She was doing very, very well, but it feels like she's kind of snowballing. So I am concerned about the choices that she's making with graduating, with the vaping, and as well as the running.
And so is there anything that you're requesting the court to change at this point so that we can get her maybe more help, or do you have any ideas for that?
I do. I don't have an idea of what that is, but I know she's done the substance abuse in the past. So I don't know if there's a different program that's available for her, or more counseling. She was very upset when I talked to her last night, and wasn't able to really explain what has changed or what happened. So I don't know if she's talking with someone to get herself out of this, but I'm concerned. I know there's in the works for her to move placements. And I do recommend that she is moved to a more restrictive environment, because she seems to, when there is opportunity, she has a hard time making those choices.
And is there anything, since the judge was going to ask for an update from CASA, is there anything else that you would like to tell the judge that I didn't ask you about?
No, like I said, I was super proud of her. She was doing so well. She had big plans of graduation and going to college for cosmetology as well as welding. She wanted to do both. And she was making friends and just doing really, really well. So for this big switch, I have lots of concerns for her, especially after she's 18 and she is on her own or whatever she decides to do. So I'm not sure what all we can do to help prepare her for that, but I feel like she needs something.
I'll pass the witness, Your Honor.
Anyone else have questions for Ms. Silver-Miller?
No questions, Your Honor.
No questions.
Okay. And you pretty well covered. Is there anything you want to add as the attorney ad litem? And I kind of want to hear from Sierra, but I don't want to force her to say anything. But I'm hoping that you're listening, Sierra, and that you're understanding that everyone's concerned. And I just wonder what happened. If she's been doing so well, it seems like there's something must have triggered something. Do you have any ideas about that, Ms. Mullinex?
Well, Your Honor, and the reason I called Heather is because Heather has a lot more communication with Sierra than I do. And so I know about the issues that have occurred in the placement, and I know about her wishes. I don't really know how to fix the placement because I'm not sure what's wrong with it, Your Honor. But I would say that if we need to get her moved as soon as possible so that she doesn't have to go back to an RTC, then that would be my recommendation. I don't know what else to do. I mean, she's about to be 18 and it's kind of hard at this age. I know a lot of the people in this hearing have been involved in kids around this age pretty recently, and it's pretty hard to do a lot if they're not cooperating or interested in the help.
Right.
But
and I know firsthand about the difficulties of finding placement once you start exhibiting behavioral problems and maybe drug related issues or stealing, that becomes very, very difficult for the caseworker to try to find an appropriate place. And most teenagers don't want a more restrictive placement, but on the other hand, if their behavior is not appropriate, then that's what they're going to be facing. So I see that Griselda Acevedo is on the call, and I think Sierra's with her. Do either one of you have any comments or questions or anything you want to add that could help us in this situation?
And Judge, before they talk, Taylor Haynes is also with her placement too. So if she may have something to talk about as well.
Now, who is Taylor Haynes in the case?
I'm Taylor Haynes. I'm the treatment coordinator for the foster home that licensed Griselda is.
Okay, thank you. So do any of the three of y'all then have any comments or suggestions or requests or questions, anything that could help us with this? Because I do think it's very difficult if she's only got 3 months before she turns 18. And the other thing I would say, just before any of you chime in, that I know that a supervised independent living program is a really great option, but you have to be accepted into that program. And so you have to be able to demonstrate that you can act responsibly and be mature enough to take care of yourself. And so that's an opportunity that could be really positive in a short period of time if Sierra's almost 18, but yet it may not be an option if those behaviors don't straighten themselves out. So do any of the three of you have anything to add? Ms. Haynes, as the treatment coordinator, or not sure exactly what you described your title. Can you describe what it is that you all might be trying to offer in this situation?
Yes. I did want to say last time I spoke to Sierra, she did express a desire to speak at court. So I just wanted to say that. But yes, I am the treatment coordinator, so I do ongoing case management for the foster home, ensure that it's in compliance, and make sure that placement and Sierra both have all they need.
Okay. So Sierra, this is your opportunity. You supposedly wanted to speak out in court, so this is your chance to say what you would like to say or ask a question if you have a question.
No, ma'am, I don't have a question.
Do you have anything you would like to say at this point?
No, ma'am.
Are you hearing everything, all the concerns that people are expressing?
Yes, ma'am.
Is that something that you feel like that you can successfully do something about?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Are you right now wanting to move to another placement?
Yes, ma'am.
Is that, you said yes?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Well, it sounds like that's what they're trying to do, and find some place so that you can move to temporarily and hopefully be successful. As you heard your CASA say, that, you know, we want you to be successful whether you stay in care after you turn 18 or not. You know, that's the whole purpose of everyone here, is to try to help you get the educational resources, the career opportunities, and all those things that will take to make you, help you be a responsible and happy adult. And that's not going to change whether you know, no matter where you go.
Yes.
Anybody else have anything to add at this point? I didn't hear that there was any specific orders that you all were requesting. I will find that it is in the best interest of the child to remain in care at this time, and find that the department is making all reasonable efforts to you know, finalize the permanency plan for her and find appropriate services for her. I would authorize a change of placement if you all can come up with one. And if there are any additional services that are needed, I do think she should be in therapy at a minimum. And if there are any other services, I think those would certainly be warranted.
Yeah, I know with the
So,
updated psychological, we would just ask that she be ordered to follow whatever recommendations come out of that, Judge.
okay, yeah, the court will order that there's a follow-up psychological evaluation, that recommendations from that psychological be followed.
Thank you.
And again, I would think it would certainly include counseling at a minimum. I'm not going to address the substance abuse part of it, because I really don't know. I think that's something that needs to be assessed further, just to see if that, but it seems to me that there's a good team here working with this case and with this family, and that you all are, that everybody seems to be on top of what's going on, and feel confident that you all can work together and come up with a good plan moving forward. And a lot of it's going to be up to Sierra as to whether she follows those recommendations or takes advantage of the opportunities that she has. You know, most people don't get free counseling and free career counseling and those kinds of things. And that's not to minimize any hardships that you know, the children in his family have had in the past, because undoubtedly that is part of it. But, and I just got a message that she is in therapy at this time, so I'm glad to hear that. So again, I commend all of you for your work in this case, and ask you to keep up the good work. And we'll find it again that it's in the best interest of the child to remain in care at this time. And I don't know if you all usually have a subsequent hearing after 18, because Sierra's the only child left in this case. Is that correct?
That's correct, Judge.
So
We could set
it's set on the schedule for May 12th at 9 o'clock for another permanency review, but it wouldn't be a permanency review at that point. But I'll just leave that to Judge Baker and to Ms. Katie to determine. But there is a hearing set, just so that you all know. There's this hearing set May 12th at 9 o'clock.
I mean, it may make sense given that the plan now is to go into the extended foster care program and have a check-in hearing. So we certainly have no
Yes.
objection to leaving that date on, Judge.
Okay. All right. Did I miss ordering anything or making any findings that I need? All right, then I wish all of you the best of luck. I know it's challenging right now, and so, but I wish you all the best of luck. And if nothing further, then all parties are excused.
Thank you. And I'm on the
Thank
next matter, so I'll just,
Right.
with your
Yeah,
permission.
that's fine. We do have another matter.
Thank you.
Thank you. In the interest of Shelp, SHELP, case out of the High Plains Court of Texas. And this is visiting Judge Morris appearing on behalf of Judge Baker, March 25th, 2026. We are being recorded by a certified court reporter, Ms. Taylor. And so we're here today for a permanency review before a final order. So at this time, I will ask for announcements from the parties, and we'll start with Mr. Graff.
Thank you, Judge. Good morning. Good morning, Council. Gene Graff, Angela Tidwell, on behalf of St. Francis, present, ready to proceed.
Sage Seal, attorney for the mother, Sierra Shelp, Your Honor. She is present. We're ready.
Bailey Sapien on behalf of the respondent father. My client is present and we're ready.
Erin Mullinex, attorney at Latham for the child, ready, Your Honor.
Right. Let's see. Mr. Alvarado, would you state your name for the record, please?
Of course, Judge. My name is Ixchel Alvarado.
Okay. And who was the attorney for Mr. Alvarado? Is that Miss Tidwell?
I am Bailey
Miss
Sapien.
Sapien. Okay, I'm sorry, y'all went so fast, and I'm trying to keep up with who everybody is. So thank you. All right. So as I said, we're here for a permanency review before a final order. I did read the notes on this case. It sounded like, I hope that hasn't changed, that things are going pretty well and the parents are participating in services, but I'm going to let Mr. Graff call witness if you'd like, and hear some testimony about that.
Yeah, and Judge, since you have reviewed the court report, with the court's permission, if you'd like, we can just have Ms. Tidwell give an update as to the status of the parents' compliance and everything.
Sure, that would be great. Ms. Tidwell, would you please raise your right hand? Do you swear or affirm that the testimony given in this case will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. And state your name once again for the record.
Yes, ma'am. My name is Angela Tidwell.
And how are you employed, Ms. Tidwell?
I am a permanency specialist at St. Francis Ministries.
Okay. Right. So as I said, I have read the court report and the judge's notes. And so could you give an update on how the parties are doing in this case?
Yes, ma'am. I'm going to start with a Jagger Shelp. I had the opportunity to go see him yesterday in Burke Burnett. He's doing wonderful in placement. He's currently placed with Sierra Shelp's parents. He just had his 9-month checkup. He's healthy. He's meeting his milestones. He's crawling, pulling up. He is one of the happiest babies I've had the opportunity to meet. He is thriving in their care.
Now, let me just clarify something. You said he's placed with his mother?
No, with Sierra Shelp's mother, his grandmother.
His grandmother. Well, that's what I thought. I thought maybe he'd been moved or something. Okay.
No,
he's placed with the grandmother still. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
And Judge, I believe Ms. Dingus is the grandmother. She is present for today's hearing if you have any questions for her.
Okay. All right. Thank you. I see Ms. Dingus now. Okay. Right. And so go ahead, Ms. Tidwell.
He is having visits with both mom and dad. Ms. Dingus had reported that Sierra Shelp, she does travel quite a bit to see Jagger on any of her free moments that she has, probably 2, 3, 4 times a month. Sierra continues to engage in her virtual visits weekly with Jagger as well. And then, so Jagger is doing wonderful. We'll move on to Sierra. Sierra Shelp, she is just doing amazing. I'm really proud of this young lady. When I took over this case, she hadn't really started a lot of services. And since I've been the caseworker since December, she has almost completed all services. On the court report, I have an update on her OSAR. She did complete her OSAR. It was March 10th. And then she started outpatient services with Lydia Daily Recovery. And she started those services on March 13th. And she should complete that outpatient therapy in June sometime. She's still currently employed. She did switch back to one of her old jobs because it's more money. She's making more money, wages and tables. All her utilities are working. She's given me clean drug screens. She's completed parenting. She's doing really well. I'm really proud of Sierra.
That's great to hear.
Yes, she's
And
doing
not that
wonderful.
common.
Yes. And then Mr. Alvarado, he has completed all services, and we are actually working on setting up, we're slowly introducing Jagger to Itchell or Mr. Alvarado. He had only had like 2 in-person meetings with Alvarado, and so we were going to move into overnight visits with Mr. Alvarado, but we had a staffing and decided to slow things down and just give him unsupervised visits. So at the moment, for the month of March, we're doing unsupervised visits. And then in April, we're going to revisit and move into overnights with Mr. Alvarado.
Okay.
And he too is giving me clean drug screens as well.
He's taking
Negative.
drug screens and those are clean.
They're negative. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And his visits in the past have been, how are those?
It was reported in the past that Mr. Alvarado had only had a couple of visits in person with Jagger. I'm not sure the reasoning. I mean, he's welcome to travel to Burke Burnett. There is a distance. The baby is placed almost 3.5 hours away from Amarillo. So, you know, just he's told me that he has to take time off for work and stuff like that. So, but right now visits are, he is getting unsupervised, and him and Miss Ding has set up a schedule that fits both of their schedule, and that is noted in the court report.
Okay, it's good. So what is the permanency goal in this case?
The permanency goal is reunification.
With which parent, or the parents are not together?
The parents aren't together. At this time, I mean, we would still like to give Sierra some more time to work services and give her the same opportunity to have unsupervised visits. I did put in the court report, depending on how overnights go with Mr. Alvarado, that we would revisit staffing and FRE plan, which is, you know, the family reunification plan with Mr. Alvarado.
Okay. Okay. So do any of the attorneys then, I thank you for that report, have any questions for Ms. Tidwell or follow up?
Judge, I do have a couple of just kind of housekeeping matters I'd like to ask Ms. Tidwell about briefly.
Okay, go ahead.
Ms. Tidwell, we're currently looking at a final hearing on May 12th. First question, I have 2 questions about that. First question is, are we thinking, it sounds like from the court report, the parents are getting along pretty well, and it sounds like the ultimate best case scenario would be to, when we're ready to get out of the case, that we've got kind of a co-parenting situation set up. Are we thinking that mediation is going to be needed in this case at this point?
I would absolutely recommend that.
Do you think that that could help maybe work out some of those details?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And then secondly, on that, in that regard, given that we're really just about 2 months, less than 2 months out from a final, are we thinking an extension might be possible in this case to give the parents a little more time as needed?
Possibly.
Okay. Those are my only 2 questions, Judge. Thank you. I pass the witness.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Graff. Anyone else have questions?
I have questions, Your Honor.
All right, go ahead, Ms. Molinex.
Angela, how long has Mr. Alvarado been having the unsupervised visits?
Let me look at my court report. I believe we started in March, possibly February. They started, let's see, in February, like February 21st.
And is he having weekly unsupervised visits, or how often are they?
So it looks like we have moved to 2 unsupervised a month. So we did 2 in March, and then we did 2 in February, and then we were going to move into overnights in April.
And how long, what's the longest visitation unsupervised that he's had, if you know?
It's my understanding he's had 8 hours at one time.
Do you know when that was or no?
I want to say that was his first visit, February 21st, I believe.
Have they been less since that time?
And when I spoke to Ms. Dingus yesterday, she did express that when he traveled to Burke Burnett, he did pick up Jagger, take him to eat, and then went back to Ms. Dingus's residence and stayed for a few hours. And I think she reported it was 5 to 6 hours, something like that.
And so the overnights that are planned, is that just one overnight to where he keeps the child in Amarillo, or what's the plan for the overnight?
So I actually recommended, Ms. Dingus made it very clear that Jagger wakes up several times throughout the night still. And so it's kind of up to them what they decide. But I also recommended that with it being his first overnight, if the Dinguses were okay with it, that possibly he could do his first overnight in their home. And if not, then he could do it in a hotel, or he could do it in Amarillo. It was basically between those two, what they worked out.
So there's not a specific requirement from the department for whatever the overnight, the circumstances of it?
No, ma'am. We had staffed, and they had, my director had given us permission to move into overnights.
And you said that he had only a couple in-person visits before that. When were those in-person visits prior to February?
I don't have those exact dates.
Before you were on the case?
Yes, ma'am.
And you said you started on the case in December?
Yes, ma'am. I believe I would have to go back and look at the exact date. I don't have that exactly in front of me.
Okay. And I think on your report, it says that he also, both parents also get Zoom visits. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you know if the parents are either or both of them are attending the Zoom visits?
So yes, I stated, Sierra is attending weekly Zoom visits. I haven't spoke with Mr. Alvarado about this. It was just brought to my attention yesterday that there was a message sent to Ms. Dingus stating that there was a payment needed to continue his Zoom visits. And I was going to check into that today. So Mr. Alvarado has not mentioned to me whether or not he is having Zoom visits, but Ms. Dingus stated that he has not had Zoom visits since January, I believe.
Okay, so the payment, is there a supervisor for those visits, or do you know what the payment's for?
So we contract third party.
Right, so does that mean that there's a supervisor? I don't understand. Okay.
Yes, ma'am. I'm sorry. Yes, ma'am.
And so before you were on the case, and then you got on the case, and then in January, he wasn't having any visits, is your understanding, until the end of February or middle of February?
So I don't know that exact timeline. I haven't been able to check into exactly when the visit stopped. I was just told yesterday by Ms. Dingus that she had received a text stating that the visits were not going to resume because of payment. So I need to check into that to get the exact answer for that question.
And Ms. Dingus allows the parents to come at any time if the department allows it, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
I'd pass the witness.
Anybody else have questions for Ms. Tidwell?
No questions, Judge.
Okay. Well, it sounds like things are going very well and that you all have a good plan in place. And I would, let's see, is the mother, is she on this call?
She is.
Yes,
Okay.
Judge. Ms. Shelp.
I would ask that the mother and the father, please raise your right hand. And do you swear or affirm that the testimony given in this case will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
All right, thank you. All right, I just want to ask you both if you have heard and everything that Ms. Tidwell has reported to the court today. Have you both heard that?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, Your
Okay.
Honor.
And is there anything about what she said or recommended that you don't understand or that you have a question about?
No, Your Honor.
No, I don't think so.
Okay. It sounds like you both are doing really well. And what I would recommend to you is that you stay in close contact with Ms. Tidwell and also with your own attorneys. They're there to help you navigate through this. I do need to remind both of you, though, that your rights are still subject to being restricted or even terminated because the state has temporary custody of your child. You both understand that.
Yes, Your Honor.
Yes.
So it's really important that you keep up the good work that you're doing. I think that the outpatient treatment for you, Ms. Shelp, is really important because it seems like the drugs were the issue that brought this case to the attention of the authorities. And so that's something that, even though I know you've been testing clean, it's something that is reinforces you being able to stay that way. You both are, young people. You've got a lot of life ahead of you, and it sounds like that you are doing what you need to do, and it's important that you both be in the life of your young child. And what I would say to all of you and to the grandmother too, and I encourage you to speak up if you have something to say, but that I'm encouraged that you're working together because all of you are this child's family. And I always tell people that kids need all the people in their life they can have. And so the more people that love a child, the better. And so if you all continue to work, after all of us are out of your life, and continue to work together and use Miss Dingus as a support. If Jagger goes home with one of his parents, then I would expect that you would, continue that contact. She's done a great job at stepping up and taking care of your child when you weren't able to do that. So you owe her a lot of gratitude for that. So do either one of you have any questions about what you need to do going forward? I think I already asked you that, but I ask you again. Any questions?
No,
No,
ma'am.
Your Honor.
All right, and Ms. Dingus, and thank you both. Ms. Dingus, do you have anything you want to add about how the baby's doing or anything?
He's thriving. He's doing really well. I am so proud of I'm proud of both parents. I feel like Sierra's really stepped up where she needed to and is doing well. I feel that Dad's done a great job in trying to build a relationship. I had asked that he have a little more in-person visits to get Jagger a little more stable with him. The 8-hour visit that he did have at his house, I know he was a little uneasy. He's at the stage where he's looking for familiarity, and
Right.
it's a big step for him to
Sure.
not know him. And
Right.
I'm proud of the steps that have been made up to this point. I just would ask that he get a little more time with Dad before there's more a permanent situation. He's still not comfortable. He's a first-time dad. He's still learning. He's doing great. He does take constructive criticism along the way. He does really well with Jagger, and Jagger loves him, but he's just unfamiliar with him up
Well,
to
and
this
I'm
point.
encouraged that you're, allowing him to come to your home, because I think that helps parents and it can help you as a caregiver. If, like, for instance, either parent, if they come to your home and they feed the baby his lunch or give him a bath or something like that, it helps you, but it also helps them learn when they're not just by themselves having to try to figure this out.
Yes,
So
ma'am.
I think that it's good for all of you to keep an open mind, and that nobody's saying you can't do this or you're doing something wrong. It's you're learning, as you said, as a parent, your first time
Yes.
parent, you're still learning and getting to know the child. Every child is different. So you have to learn that particular child's likes and dislikes. So I'm very encouraged that you're also open to more visits. It sounds like it's difficult because of the distance,
Mm-hmm.
but eventually maybe you could have longer visits that are maybe not as frequent, because of the distance
Right.
but anyway, it sounds like you all are working all those details out, and I'm glad to see that. Because again, as I said, you're going to have to cooperate long after this legal case is over.
Yes, ma'am.
So at this time, the court will find that both parents are in compliance with the plans of service in this case, that the department has made reasonable efforts to make sure that they receive the services that they need in order to accomplish the permanency goal, in this case of reunification. The court finds that the placement of the child should continue, and that it's in the best interest of the child, that the grandmother's done an outstanding job of making sure this child's needs are being met, and he's happy and healthy. I forgot to ask CASA what their input was, but I will just go ahead and make a finding that the child should continue to remain in the current placement at this time. And what I will do is I'm going to order the case to mediation it's set for a final hearing on May 12th at 9 o'clock. And so we need to do the mediation, have the mediation done before that date, because as Mr. Graff implied, it could be that there's either a monitored return, or there could be an extension of some kind granted in this case, or it might be a final hearing. We just don't know at this time. So and it's coming up pretty quickly, although it sounds like you all have some good plans going forward as far as extending visitation and so forth before that. So I think it would be important to sit down together, and that gives the parents and everybody a chance to have their input into what they think needs to happen and how this case needs to be resolved. Going back to CASA, did you have any specific recommendations or report to make to the court? And I apologize for leaving you out. We kind of did this one a little differently, so.
That's okay. Thank you, Your Honor. I would like to add a couple of things. I am extremely proud of mom and dad, and as well as placement. They have had to work through several things, and communication is key. St. Francis, communication is so key. CASA's been left out of some of the communication. And I believe Angela, the last little bit, has been trying to work on that somewhat. We're here for Jagger. And we had some big concerns about Jagger just all of a sudden going for 8 hours with dad, and that wasn't fair to dad. It wasn't fair to Jagger after not creating some kind of a bond or knowing. But I think those little hiccups have been slowly being worked through, and now placement and dad are setting their own timelines and trying to work some things through. I would encourage dad to take a little more initiative to see Jagger and to spend some time. I realize working and schedules, it makes it hard, but that's part of having a child. Sierra has made the effort and has went beyond. She is finishing up OSAR. I just want to make a comment that the OSAR is a little bit behind. That is not necessarily Sierra's fault. That was some paperwork problems at the beginning and some different things happening there. So even though she's still needing to complete that, it's just, one of those things that happen. I do have a quick question, though. I would like to see kind of an equal visitation with mom as there is with dad. And I didn't hear of any plans of starting when mom can start having some unsupervised visitations, and what the process might be there, Judge. But other than that, I agree completely. There has to be communication, and these parties are working together wonderfully. And placement is where he belongs right now. That's definitely his safe place. And we need to remember that Jagger's so very impressionable. He is 9 months old, and all of this can be very traumatic for him. And so a little step at a time, and big things will happen with that if we allow Jagger that time to get to know everyone that just does love him and embrace him.
All right, thank you, Ms. Rockham. I appreciate that report.
Yes.
And Ms. Tidwell, do you have a plan for increased visitation for the mother?
So we actually, I'm gonna have to have a clean hair follicle drug screen from her before we can even discuss unsupervised visits of any sort. So, and we usually don't do unsupervised visits until all services are completed. We could visit that when she's halfway through her outpatient services. So,
Okay. And what about, is she having visits sometimes at the home of Miss Dingus?
oh yes, ma'am. She travels quite a bit to Miss Dingus's to see
Okay.
Jagger. That is
And
absolutely allowed.
I personally think that that's, if they're, it's not exactly unsupervised, but it's not in a, it's different than having a visit in the CPS office or something like that. So I think that that's appropriate until she finishes. I do think that as I said before, the drug issue is very serious and that needs to be taken seriously. And we need to make sure that she's really following through with the drug treatment and the clean drug tests and so forth. So, all right. I don't think I have anything to add to my ruling or findings unless
Can I make my recommendation?
Yes, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I spoke to the placement, and I think the concern is that Mr. Alvarado's only had the 1 8-hour visit, and now next week they're going to go to overnights. And as stated, he wakes up in the night, and this is going to be an unfamiliar place. So I would suggest additional longer periods of visitation before an overnight. But even if that doesn't happen, I would request that at least the overnight take place closer to her home, if not in her home, because then she will be there, grandmother, so that if there are any problems with Mr. Alvarado with the visitation, that the child is comfortable and can be with somebody comfortable. And I think I know Ms. Dingus didn't say that, but she told me that was a concern yesterday. And that obviously the parents are doing well, but that is a concern for Jagger to just go overnight with somebody that he's only had one 8-hour visit with, and then some 6-hour visits.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think that's a little bit moving a little bit fast. I think that the unsupervised visits there should be some more unsupervised visits before moving straight to the overnight, unless the overnight perhaps was maybe at Mrs. Dingus's home.
He's more than welcome to come to the house. I have no problem. I don't discriminate between either parent. They're both welcome.
Okay. What are you willing to do that, Mr. Alvarado?
Yes, Your Honor. I'm more than willing.
And I think that would help you. And you don't want to get in a situation where the baby's afraid of you or uncomfortable going with you or hesitant to go with you through no fault of yours, just because he's not used to it. And so I think that it is important with a baby, with an even a little bit older child, you can kind of explain things to him, but he's just still a baby. And so I think that it would be important to perhaps slow that down and make the overnight visits start out being at the home of Miss Dingus and see how those go and see how you do with, if you're the one getting up in the middle of the night with him, see how that, if you're doing fine with that, then good. If not, then maybe you need a little more time. I have a feeling, and I'm not going to be the judge to hear the next hearing, so go back with Judge Baker, but I have a feeling that you all are going to probably need a little more time in this case past May, because I think it is important not to rush things for the baby's sake. Seems like he's very well adjusted. He's happy. And I know that none of us want to see that not continue. And if I think if a baby sees the people that he's around being happy with each other and cooperating with each other, that goes a long way. So I think those, like I said, I think the contact in the home of Miss Dingus is really the optimal way to go. All right, anything else? that we need to address? All right, as I said, this is set for final trial at May 12th at 9 o'clock, and the case is ordered to mediation prior to that. So if there's nothing further, then all parties may be excused. And you all keep up the good work. You should all be very proud of yourselves and what you've accomplished.
Thank you.
Thank you,
All right,
Judge.
thank you.
Nice to meet you.
Same here, Mr. Graff.